Good morning. It's good to see you today. Hope you're doing well. It is Jesus Tuesday. Come on with us to Matthew chapter 7. Matthew 7, let's read the end of the Sermon on the Mount. Start at verse 24. Jesus says, "Therefore whoever hears these sayings of mine and does them, I will liken him to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. But everyone who hears these sayings of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain descended, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. And so it was, when Jesus had ended these sayings, that the people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes." What sort of things might we mention from the account? One thing is, there is a difference between hearing and doing, is one of the things we see. There are all sorts of folks there. Back in chapter 4, at verse 25, it talks about that there was great multitudes followed him from Galilee, from Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and beyond the Jordan. There is all kinds of people there. All sorts of people heard the sermon. Now, how many of them would actually obey the sermon? There's a difference between hearing and doing. We take heed what we hear, we take heed how we hear. The Lord talks about both things. Right? That's what we need to understand. There's a difference between hearing and doing. But before we do, the second thing I wanted to mention, you have to hear first. Right? That's what he says, whoever hears these things of mine and does them. A lot of folks, and please notice in verse 29 of chapter 7 again, it says, "For he taught them as one having authority." A lot of folks, they get busy building on the foundation without actually listening to the Lord to see how they need to build, to see whether or not they are authorized to do certain things. They just start doing them without hearing the word first. You have to hear the word before you ever obey, is what you have to do. That's what we have to do. A lot of folks, they don't hear correctly, we'll say. Take heed what you hear, take heed how you hear. In Luke's account of the sermon, it says that the wise man dug deep and laid the foundation. We are talking about matters of the heart. You don't just lay Jesus on the surface. You don't just lay the foundation on the surface. You dig deep is what you have to do. You receive with meekness the implanted word. If the word is just on the surface, you might think about the parable of the sower. If it's just on the surface, what happens? When the sun comes out, the root dries up and it blows away. The wise man, he digs deep. Of course, what's common to both things in Luke 7, the storms come to both. We know what 1 Corinthians 10 says. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. The storms come. Trials, tribulations, they come to all. And what we need to understand is that you do not wait to build until the storms come. You build before the storms come. This is how the Lord defines who is wise and who is foolish. Hope you enjoyed this study today. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow morning.